Hey folks, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Blimey, time flies, doesn't it? We're at another bike news. This time it's the edition for June 2021. Get yourself a brew, probably going to be a long one once again because I've got 5 editions of MCN that I'm going to skim through, give you some of the highlights. So if you're interested in what's been going on in the world of motorcycles here in the UK for June 2021, this video's for you. Alrighty, let's get straight on then. It's going to be a busy one because, my goodness me, have I picked out a lot of stories to talk you through. So apologies in advance if I talk really quickly. If you're not a native English speaker, I often get told to slow down. You can actually, I think, on YouTube, slow the video down. So if I talk too fast for you, I'm sorry, slow it down. Maybe that'll make it more understandable. But I get excited when I talk about bikes. That's all it is. It's a bit of exuberant enthusiasm. Don't forget to stick around until the very end of the news as well, because I've got loads of parish notices to go through, stuff that's coming up on the channel, and 1 or 2 other bits and pieces that I want to talk to you about, so stick around to the very end of the video for that. All right, without further ado, let's crack on with the news then. And the first story I've picked out here, one from Norton. If you remember, Norton, all sorts of bad news stories over the last, probably, I don't know, well, forever it seems, but certainly over the last 3 to 5 years. Now with the new owners on board, things seem to be picking up. But this story is all about sorting out the troubled V4s. These are these incredible bikes that were delivered previously under the old owners. It turns out there's been lots of issues with them, and the new owners are actually honouring fixing them, which is quite remarkable because they have no contractual need to do so. So it's a great PR move from them. A few things I've picked out from the story here. So Norton's new owners are working hard to fix defects with the V4SS after a raft of complaints from people who bought bikes built from the previous custodians of the brand. They've found 35 significant faults already listed on existing machines. Under the guidance of the DVSA, we're in, this is the CEO of Norton says, under the guidance of the DVSA, we're in direct contact with all affected registered V4SS owners to address the safety issues in relation to the faults. New Norton management was not involved in the production and supply of these bikes and is not responsible for the cause of the faults. We're voluntarily taking certain actions under the guidance of the DVSA to assist with potential safety problems and to ensure the good name of Norton continues. So huge thumbs up to the new owners of Norton there. I mean, it's the right thing to do. It's a real shame for those that bought the previously substandard bikes. I must admit, I love the V4SS, but the bikes that actually got sold were, they just didn't look as good as the bikes that we saw at the NEC. I saw one at a dealer's once and the fit and finish on it was frankly appalling. In fact, the salesman even pointed out how bad the finish on it was. So let's hope that all gets sorted out with the new Norton. Things are looking up. So really best of luck to those guys. I so hope Norton makes a go of it this time, and it looks like they're going to, so that's all good. Right, next up. Manufacturer don't talk about much here. MV Agusta. MV aim to be Top Gun. This is the new 2021 edition Rush, which takes its inspiration from fighter jets apparently, and there are only 300 being built. The distinctive thing about this is the rear wheel on it. It's got this weird sort of, well, it's not hubcap, but I suppose it might be aerodynamic. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, I quite like the look of it, and it remains for the 2021 bike, I'm glad to say. A few points I've picked out here. So new 2021 version of the MV Agusta Rush has been unveiled with a reworked engine and lean sensitive electronics plus a fighter jet like inspired paint job. 300 examples were built. It adheres now to Euro 5, so I guess that's mainly what the updates were about. Puts out 205 brake horsepower, has had some internal modifications to the engine, including things like a diamond-like coating on the valve buckets and lower friction primary drive gearing. The distinctive lenticular disc, that's what they're calling it, on the rear wheel remains. Customers who buy the new Rush will also receive an exclusive wooden box, brilliant, containing a race kit that boosts the power to around 209 brake horsepower. I like the style, with an SC exhaust and a dedicated racing ECU. So that's a fun way of getting around the not for road use thing, isn't it? Brilliant. They provide you with them. You fit them yourself. It's down to you. It's dripping with carbon fibre, top drawer Olin suspension and Brembo brakes. There's no word yet on price or availability, but the old version cost $32,280. So you know, paupers need not apply. This is one expensive bike, and with only 300 being made, I imagine they'll just fly off the shelves anyway. But so it's one of those bits of exotica that it's nice that it exists, but in reality, you and I are probably never going to see one. But I say that, down at Crazy Horse they did have the old Rush, and I've got sort of an open invitation to go and ride it, so maybe I'll have to give them a shout and see if I can go and ride one, see what it's actually like. But be a bit frightened to ride a bike that costs 32,000 quid. Anyway, we'll see. Right, next up, BMW bags more of the limelight. So some new versions of the R18 have come to light. New spy shots have emerged that show BMW's 2 new baggers are all but finished. We've talked about these before. There are two new models. There's one called the Bagger and one called the Transcontinental, and they're both obviously built on the current R18 platform. So incredibly, they're actually bigger than the R18. They're around 120mm longer than the current model. Inside the fairing, you can see a huge TFT dash, plus speakers having infotainment, so speakers, all that sort of game. The TFT is likely to be similar to the huge one fitted to the current R1250 RT, which actually I think is a bit of a mistake. I think bikes like this that have a retro vibe going on should steer clear of TFTs, or if they do it within a retro styled enclosure. This is just one of my bugbears. I've mentioned this before, but there we go. We haven't seen it yet. We'll reserve judgment till we actually see it. You can see the telltale box of the cruise control radar receiver, so it's going to have the active cruise control. Tank is visibly enlarged, and we'd expect it to be around 20 litres brimmed. Complaint of the existing R18s that it had a small tank, so it looks like they might have helped out on that one. There's been no official word from BMW about either model yet, but we'd expect them to be unveiled later this year. So clearly they're aimed at the US market. I have to say the looks of these sorts of bikes with a massive batwing fairing don't do it for me, but there we go. We'll see how they sell. I don't know how the R18's selling. More on that sort of bike later. There's a bit of a review later on the R18, so I'll talk more about that later. In fact, here it is. It was the next one. Cruising for a bruising. They put the Harley Davidson Heritage Classic up against the BMW R18 Classic, and this is my point. These two bikes cost within, well, they're pretty close price. So the BMW 21, the Harley 21.7. By the time you've added a bit to the spec of the BMW, you're talking same sort of prices. Both beautiful bikes. I love the R18 when I rode it. I've not ridden the Harley yet, the Heritage Classic, but the point I'm making with these is if you're going to buy this sort of bike, I can't help thinking you're always going to want the original. Let's face it, the original is the Harley. Now, no matter what you think of Harley Davidson, they were there first with this style of bike, and they have perfected it over the years. If you're going to ride a bike like this, people are always going to think Harley Davidson. If you buy the BMW, I don't know, I just wonder whether you're going to think, actually, I'm on a copy. It's a bit like, BMW came out with the RT and then everybody else copied that. Do you remember the Triumph Trophy, which was a blatant copy as far as I could see of the RT? Well, that didn't work well for Triumph and got fairly quickly dropped. I wonder how the R18 will stack up against the Harley. Anyway, let's see what the verdict was on this review. So they gave the Harley Davidson 4 out of 5 stars, which is just incredible. And they gave the BMW, if I can find it. For some reason, I can't find what they gave the BMW. Maybe I've lost the page or something. Oh, here we are. It's under there. There we go. They gave the BMW 4 out of 5 as well, which is interesting. So let's say buying a bike like these boils down to just two things: image and feel. And that is my point, really. If you want the image, then surely the Harley's the way to go. The Harley Davidson certainly has striking looks and would have your neighbours gossiping that you're a badass biker. I certainly think that of me. We like the agility and surprising accuracy, but the engine is almost too refined next to the R18's heavy engineering, which is why the BMW wins. That's interesting. They're saying the Harley's got a more refined engine than the BMW. Can you believe that? The R18 is the better looking bike and has a greater sense of premium quality, but it's the living, lunging, lumpy engine that seals the deal with its touchy-feely torque and a deep and dirty exhaust note. Well, I must admit, when I rode the R18, I didn't think that much of the exhaust note, and I'm stunned that they think it looks better. So obviously this is just down to personal choice, but looking at the two, I think the Harley looks better. They've given them both the same mark at the two. Maybe I'll get to ride the Harley at some point. Now I've in touch with those guys, and maybe I can do a bit of my own comparison. But MCN think that the Harley wins. Anyway, it was a little supplement in this copy, so let me just pull out a couple of items from here. Oh yeah, first one, must mention this, secure your garage. So you may remember or recall or have seen on the start and end of my videos that I'm sponsored by Image 4 Security, i4S. And the main product, or one of the products that they make, is the Guardsman garage door barrier, which you will have seen on my garage. It's a great thing. I've had mine now for over a year. It's still going strong. In fact, I've got two because I've got a double garage. They're brilliant bits of kit. MCN say here, the whole kit fits inside of the door aperture, meaning it only gets in the way when you want it to. In the lockdown position, you couldn't get a bike under or over it, and it's so simple to use that you can do it one-handed with your bike gloves on. And I would echo that. I'm not just saying it because I'm sponsored by these guys. I was raving about this product long before they contacted me and long before the sponsorship. Having said that, the kit is $599.99 if you want to secure your garage. If you want 50 quid off, there is a link below this video as usual, and a special code. You can get £50 off as a TMF viewer. If you've got a garage with multiple bikes or indeed cars or other things that you want to protect, then I do think the Guardsman for Image 4 Security is an amazing bit of kit. There we go. Advert over. I mean, It is an advert, but I also think it's a great bit of kit, so go and check that out if you're worried about security. And then another thing, whilst we're on the security, this is a security supplement, MCN have also mentioned the Light Lock Moto 108. Light Lock, again, another sponsor of the channel. Again, they weren't sponsors of the channel when I originally came across Light Lock. I just love the product, and since we've hooked up and now they sponsor the channel too, you will have seen their logo. So this is the Light Lock Moto 108. This is one of our favourite bits of serious portable security. Great in the garage, but it really comes into its own on the move. It's light, flexible, sole secure gold, has a drill resistant alloy steel casing, looks good and works with all sorts of wheels and anchor points. But one of the strongest USPs, this is something I never thought of before, but it's a good point, is that you don't have a dent inducing heavy links flopping around or hard edges dinging your paintwork or pulverising your pannier, tank bag, rucksack, top box contents. And I'd never thought about that before, but if you're carrying a similarly secure, really heavy chain, they're a bit of a nuisance, and it's very easy to damage your bike with those. Don't ask me how I know. Whereas this, with its neoprene cover and it's not so weighty, you're not going to do that. So again, I can get you some money off. Link below in the description of the video. If you click on that link, it will apply some a TMF discount as you go through. So yeah, the Light Lock. So another great product if you're interested in some portable security. Okay, adverts over. Moving on. GSX-S 1000. Now this, at the beginning of the month, was all the rage, wasn't it, on social media. Everything was about the new GSX 1000. And I haven't ridden it yet. I'm wondering whether I should do. Let's just read some of the highlights I've picked out here from MCN. Suzuki's GSX-S 1000 has proved popular since arrival in 2015. It needed changes to meet Euro 5. It was showing its age. This is a substantially revised version. It addresses the Euro 5 thing with a tweaked motor, new electronics, revised chassis, all new MotoGP influence look, yet crucially retains its price. So thumbs up to Suzuki for making improvements but retaining the original price. That's great news. Personally, I don't like the looks of it. I can't get past these lights. I've never seen one in the flesh, but yeah, it just doesn't do it for me. Now, I rode the GSX-S F 1000, which is based on a similar platform, and I love that bike, so I imagine I would love the way it rides, but I can't get past the looks. Some of the highlights I picked out here: it's got new GSX-S gains Suzuki's intelligent ride system, so this is an electronic suite basically. So it's the same as that debuted on the latest V-Strom and Hayabusa, although it's a budget version with no cornering and traction ABS. It's got stacked LED twin headlights, which are the bit that I don't like the look of. It's got some added premium touches, camo side panels, 3 colour options are being offered: blue, a primer light grey, or all black. It's got 2 litres larger fuel tank, always welcome. Multi-adjustable suspension and Brembo brakes remain better than average, especially on a budget bike, it says here. So yeah, a lot of bike for the money if you can get past the looks. Clocking on, it says here, out goes the fairly old school LCD panel with conventional warning lights each side. In comes a fancy redesigned version. It's still an LCD rather than one of the latest all-singing, all-dancing colour TFTs. Well, that doesn't matter though, does it? I mean, at the end of the day, TFT is just a type of LCD, it's a colour one. But I have no problem with LCD dashes. Looks all right. We'll see. Anyway, let me know if you think I should have a ride on one. Would this be a popular video? I'm kind of tempted, I must admit, having never ridden one, even the old version. Right, the sensible super naked. This is another thing that was all over social media at the beginning of the month, at a bike that I've yet to ride, the new BMW S1000R. It's had a radical revamp as well. BMW have applied a bit more thought to the new S1000R rather than simply ripping the fairing off its latest S1000RR superbike. The single R's peak power remains the same as the old at 165 brake horsepower, and the S1000RR uses shift cam technology. The Super Naked does without the complexity and redundant top-end power of the sports bike. A conventional camshaft profile matches the RR up to 10,000 RPM before falling behind the Superbike and revving it to a lower 12,750 RPM. So there are gains lower down, so more is available at road speed. So it makes a lot of sense. So they haven't gone with the shift cam because this makes more sense on the road, they're saying. And that does make kind of sense, doesn't it? But then you question, well, why did you put it on the GS then? I don't know. Anyway, let's go with it. It says here, hold it above 7,000 RPM for too long and your fingertips won't appreciate the buzzing they're subjected to. That doesn't sound so good. The whole bike weighs a claimed 199 kilograms, joint class leader with the new Speed Triple RS, which is a similarly light bike. Suspension is all new. It's made the S1000R much more agile and more dynamic. It's easy to control at town speed. Let's see what they summarised it as. In reality, it's very polished and potent super naked. The inline 4 engine lacks some of the pizzazz of alternative configurations. It blends cutting-edge performance with road sensibilities as well as anything out there. So, not a super glowing review, it has to be said, but it's saying it's pretty good. Let's face it, there's no bad bikes out there. If you like the looks of this, go buy one. It costs you £12,055. It's going to give you some amazing performance, but it's not going to do your back in if you're an oldie like me. So that's it. That's the S1000R. All right, that's it for the first paper. Still with me? Let's crack on to the second. TMF mugs available, of course, at www.themissingfly.com if you fancy a new mug. Anyway, second paper then, and I'm thoroughly expecting this camera to give out at some point. It overheated last month when we did this, and I've got more papers to go through, so might have to do this in 2 parts. Right, whilst the camera's in the freezer. Right, first story here, more Speed Twin for Retro Twin. So Triumph launched the brand new version of the Speed Twin, which had been not hugely hyped, but I was aware it was coming. I was really looking forward to the launch because I'm a Speed Twin owner, so I'm a massive fan of the bike. I have to say, I was left a little bit deflated. I thought we were going to get something quite special, but in fact, despite what Triumph say, it sort of feels like it's just a Euro 5 update to get it through those regs. They have made some tweaks as well. I'm not sure they're all good. Let's read the bits I've highlighted here and then I'll tell you what I think. So, Triumph have unveiled an updated version of their popular Speed Twin. The biggest change for 2021 comes in the engine department, where Triumph have managed the holy grail of a Euro 5 update that also brings more power. Well, that's good, isn't it? Can't complain about that. That's a great thing. There's a new exhaust too. The upgrades to the chassis components, brakes and tyres. Gone are the KYB forks in favour of higher spec Marzocchi units, and the old bike's axial Brembos are replaced with radial M50 calipers from Brembo. So in reality, are we going to notice that? I don't think I'll notice any difference whether I've got radial or axial calipers from Brembo, and I probably wouldn't notice the upgraded forks either. More skilled, more subtle riders than me maybe would, but I'm not sure this sort of bike is aimed at those sort of riders, is it? They've upgraded the riding modes, but we're stuck with rain, road and sport. Fair enough. Now get anodised headlight and mudguard mounts, brushed stainless upswept exhaust and new tank graphics. So here we go, let's go through. So the anodised headlight bracket, actually, I think the old one looks better. So there we go, interested to see if you agree with me or not there. What else we got? Brushed stainless upswept exhaust. They do look nicer than the standard ones, but I'd replace mine anyway with the Vance and Heinz pipes, which are already brushed, so that's no different there. And it's got new tank graphics. Well, to me, the tank graphics, I like the red colour, but the tank graphics that now stop sort of halfway along the tank just don't look quite right to me. I preferred the old tank graphics. If they'd done the red, but kept the old graphics where the lines went right across the tank, I think it would have looked better. So all in all, I'm thinking this isn't so much of an upgrade, it's more of a get through Euro 5, and actually I think I preferred the older bike. So bit disappointed in that. It's in dealers from August, prices starting from £11,000, so it's 300 more than the previous model, but there we go. So what do you think on that? Is it just me being a bit grouchy today, or do you think that's an improvement? All right, moving on. Sorry, Triumph. Just my thoughts. Moving on. The price is Rosso, new entry level F3 800 from MV. Now he's a gorgeous looking bike, isn't it? So I'm a massive sports bike fan in terms of the way they look. I think they just look incredible. And the Panigale and the F3 have always been two of my favourite looking bikes. So would I have this over a new V2 from Ducati? I don't know. Let's see what the highlights are of the bike. So MV Agusta have released the F3 800 Rosso. It's an entry level super sports bike. Entry level, we'll come to the price in a minute. Sitting at the heart of the new machine is a tweaked engine. It's Euro 5 compliant and it loses none of its 147 brake horsepower. There's a redesigned clutch plus an improved quick shifter. Updates to the chassis include new frame plates and redesigned swing arm pivot. The big change comes with electronics, big deal, which are all controlled through a new 5.5-inch full colour TFT, smartphone connectivity for music calls and sat nav. The addition of an IMU brings cornering ABS, lean sensitive traction control and wheelie control. Well, that all sounds sensible. It's got cruise control, launch control, fitted with a tracker as standard. I do like that idea. If you're going to have a bit of exotica, then having a tracker fitted as standard is a great idea. And it'll cost 14,780 on the road. So 15 grand for an entry level sports bike. Okay, so it's a lot of money, but they call it entry level, but let's face it, MV Agusta, it's exotica, isn't it? It's a bit of Italian exotica. I would love one of these if I had the space and money. Don't be surprised if we see new versions of the higher spec RR and RC joining over the coming months, it says here. Lovely bike. Hasn't really changed. The looks of the F3 has been much like this for years, isn't it? But it still looks good even today, I think. They're in danger, a bit like I think Ducati may have done with the Panigale. If you tweak it too much, you spoil the beautiful looks. I think the Panigale has become a little bit bloated. It still looks nice, but I prefer the original looks. I'm glad that MV have kept the F3 with its original looks. What do you think? All right, next up here, what does this say? Maverick at heart is the headline. This is the new CCM, their latest Spitfire. So UK-based CCM have released another bike into their popular Spitfire lineup. The Maverick takes their tried and tested formula, tweaking it slightly to make a unique dual sport offering. This is the problem I have with CCM. Well, there are two problems actually. I think they look great, the bikes, don't get me wrong. Lovely looking motorcycles, British company, I'm all for it. But what they do is subtle tweaks to the model every now and then. I think, I'm not sure what the rules are, but you can only make a certain number of bikes before you have to do a special sort of approval. They get these through on a sort of a low manufacturing numbers. Well, it's not a fiddle, it's there to do, but you know, if they made thousands and thousands of these, they wouldn't be able to make these bikes without spending a lot more money and the cost going up. So I understand why CCM do it, but it just smacks a bit of, I don't know, something a bit odd about it to me. The other thing I'm not keen on with CCMs is the engine that they use. It's I think it's from a Husqvarna or KTM, and it's a single cylinder thumper engine. And I just found when I rode one, the engine was just, it didn't do it for me. I don't know whether they're thinking that because it's got that character, that thumpiness, it goes with the retro character of the bike, but it lost it for me. And when there are other bikes like the Fantic Caballero around at much less money, maybe that's the way to go. But anyway, again, interested in your views. Let's see what I've highlighted here. So it's called the Maverick. It takes it, we talked about that. It's powered by the familiar 600cc single, which is the thumpy single. It weighs in at just 150 kilograms curb weight, so lovely and light, so no problems there. Standard trim, a Maverick will set you back $9,995 when it arrives in August this year. If you buy the $2,699 Legend package, you get performance upgrades, including Öhlins suspension and a twin Brembo front to replace the stock Juan setup. Something like that. I might have got the prices and details wrong there, but you can pay extra and get extra bling. Anyway, what do you think of the CCM? Do you think they're going the right route by just rejigging the same model and releasing it as something slightly different? What do you think of the engine? What do you think would be better? I think a twin would be amazing. Maybe up it to say a 650 and make it twin, then I think they're onto something. Okay, one of these comparisons that MCN does so good, their MCN 250, they're pitting the Triumph Street Triple RS, which I have ridden, against the KTM 890 Duke R, against the MT09 SP. So these are super nakeds. Can the MT09 SP cut it against the 890 Duke R and Street Triple RS, which of course are much newer models now, having had a lot of updates in the last couple of years, whereas I think the MT09 SP is pretty much, I think it's stayed much the same since it's been around. Let's see what the verdict was. They've given the Triumph Street Triple 5 stars, I see here, and it says Yamaha have transformed the MT, and in SP guise it's now the brilliant do-it-all naked bike it always promised to be. Yes, lots of updates for this year. Sorry, made an error there. It is heavily updated this year. If you prioritise agility over comfort, then there's no denying the Street Triple RS. Just edges the Yamaha, better handling, faster turning and lighter. The RS is a proper sporty middleweight. The 890 Duke R is a bike that will suit a certain type of rider, track-focused, aggressive, and set firmly on its suspension. So just looking at the star ratings they gave for the others, the Yamaha MT09, they gave 5 stars, and the Duke 890, they gave 4 stars. So interesting, again, I'm sure they're all great bikes. You go for the one you like the look of. But they're rating the Triumph Street Triple by the read-up as the winner of that particular comparison, which is good to see. I'm a Street Triple fan, as you may know. And then last but not least here, I like the looks of this. This is Ducati Multistrada V4S, a beautiful bike. I've always loved the way the multi looks. In the past I found them a bit heavy, but now with the V4S and the later versions, they've largely fixed that. I haven't ridden this one yet, but I'm so looking forward to doing so. Ducati didn't get off to the best start with the Multistrada, says Richard Newland, because they had a significant number of expensive changes that to make, and they recalled the bikes, and that I think in many cases replaced the engine, which must have cost Ducati a penny or two, but good on them for doing so. So anyway, it's almost a shame Ducati have kept the familiar styling and Multistrada name, because the two generations of bike are chalk and cheese. Wow. Don't get me wrong, the 1260 is a great bike, but the new Multi is better in every way. So that's amazing, because the old 1260 was pretty good. The engine manages to be more insane, but is also more flexible, refined at the same time. Comfort has jumped up a significant notch. The airflow of the bike is calmer. The handling is precise. The dash and connectivity have taken a general leap forward too. So Rich here obviously loves this. There are still annoyances though, let's not get too carried away. Sometimes it's reluctant to establish a Wi-Fi link to the Ducati app that runs all of the connected services. I hate that. I'm familiar with this. I have a similar problem on my Honda Goldwing. And I've had the same problem with other bikes as well. For example, I've never managed to get the Triumph app to connect properly. This is annoying. When they advertise these features as new features of the bikes, and you buy it because it's got all these fancy things, but it relies on your phone to connect to them. I don't know. I'd rather they built those things in. I'm just an old dinosaur, I know. So what else? The other grumble is the panniers. They look large, but while the left-hand one will swallow a decent amount, The other one's a bit, it says it inversely TARDIS-like. I love that description. So there we go. He likes it overall, but it's not perfect. Alrighty, that's it for that paper. Quick swig of me coffee. Hoping the camera's going to last out. Got plenty of battery power. It's the heat that's the issue. So I'll speed up the way I'm talking even more. How are we doing for time? Don't know. All right, next. Shock treatment. Subtle tweaks to rework Livewire give e-bike a sharper new look. So this is the, remember the Harley Davidson Livewire, the bike that Ewan and Charlie did their latest series on, which I think has been discontinued now, or certainly it's in a different form. But there's a German customiser here called JVB Moto. They've turned their hands to the Harley Davidson Livewire and have basically made it a bit more street savvy. I think it looks great. I think if Harley Davidson made this, it would fly off the shelves. In fact, it only had good reviews anyway, so I think I was surprised that Harley stopped making it. Although, as I say, I think it's coming out under a new guise, and I think they're going to actually rebrand it with its own branding, which might be a clever idea. So we've certainly not seen the last of the Livewire, that's for sure. Anyway, back to this this custom job. This bike is so much fun and shows that the future of motorcycling can still be really enjoyable, says Jens, who's the designer and founder of JVB Motor. He said he concentrated on making a cleaner design with some cafe racer influences, and it does look lovely. He says there are no plans for customer kits, which are what JVB Moto specialise in, which instead they'll offer a small series of modified bikes for order. It doesn't say how much, ain't going to be cheap. But yeah, it does look nice, really nice, good job there. So, you know, electric bikes needn't look naff. All right, moving on. Benelli go touring. Here we go, Benelli. Now this is a manufacturer that sort of passed me by. I get a lot of comments from people saying, when can you ride a Benelli, this, that or the other? The reason is I haven't ridden them because I don't actually have contact with them in any way. I'd love to have a go. It is a Chinese, well, they're made in China, manufactured in China, but of course Benelli is an Italian brand. And I believe the design and all that stuff is still done in Italy. So it's sort of no more Chinese than, I don't know, than Royal Enfield is British, yet we tend to sort of think, oh no, Royal Enfield isn't British, I know it's thoroughly Indian. But you see what I mean? This thing does work where you have design in one country, manufacturing in another. I know I always get slagged down when I mention not to ignore Chinese bikes because they're coming. Well, this is another example. I mean, the thing looks great to me. So Benelli's long-awaited 1200 GT is a big capacity triple. It's gone on sale in China already at a price that massively undercuts similarly spec'd rivals. It's about, in China, it comes in at 99,800 yen, which is around £11,000 apparently. So 11 grand for a highly spec bike that looks really good. In China, a BMW R1250 RT would set you back the equivalent of 31,000, so it's a third the cost of an RT. It uses a 1209 version of the 3-cylinder engine that debuted back in 1999 as the Tornado Tray Superbike Triple, which is a quotes proper Benelli engine. This was before they were Chinese owned, so it's got the Tornado engine in it, which is incredible. It's got 134 horsepower and 88 foot-pounds of torque, so it's not massively powerful, but it's not bad either. It's up there with things like the GS. The dash includes a vast amount of information, including tyre pressures. It's got keyless ignition, even front and rear facing cameras. The unanswered question is how long before we see this here. We don't know, basically. We don't know how it will stack up against mainstream rivals. We don't know when it's coming here. It's got Brembo radial calipers. It's got Bosch ABS. It's got a sat-nav, tyre pressure monitors, electrically adjustable and auto-folding mirrors, electric screen. They're all standard. Amazing spec, this. And I think it looks great. So again, ignore at your peril. If it rides as well as it looks and it comes in at sort of 10 grand, that is going to fly off the shelves. I was at the ABR festival, of which more later, this weekend just gone, and Benelli had a stand there, and I made a point of having a look around, and I have to say the bikes I saw, this wasn't one of them, but others were there, things like the Leoncino, etc. The build quality looked really good. I think Benelli are going to go places. Stay tuned for more on that soon. Right, next story here, the 250-mile road test that I rave about. I like the way MCN does this. This time it's on the Tracer 9 GT. The reason I'm particularly pointing this out is because I recently borrowed one of these. You may have seen my first ride video. If you haven't, go check that out. Published that last week. It's gone quite well, that video, actually. People seem to be interested in this bike. Interesting machine, 890cc triple, 117 brake horsepower, 69 foot-pounds of torque. It'll cost you £12,202. So it's Yamaha's touring version of the what was called the well, the MT-09 obviously, but then the Tracer 900 came out and now it's called the Tracer 9. Anyway, what was the verdict that Nevesey had on this? He says It doesn't wow or seduce, but gets on with its job of wafting you and perhaps a pillion and luggage to wherever you want to go. The new Tracer 9 GT is a step forward from the outgoing model. It's well equipped, much more stable at speed, more punch grip, and with a new electronic suspension can be set hard or soft at the touch of a button. Yes, it's 12 grand. It might sound expensive, but you get a lot of well-finished, equipped, dependable sport tourer for your money, and it won't disappoint. Can't really disagree with any of that. I found it a perfectly nice enough bike. I've got my sort of lessons learned video coming up soon, so I won't sort of go into my final thoughts on the bike. What I would say is the looks of it spoil it again. Very subjective point. If you like the looks of it, then that's fine. So the looks are an issue for me, as is the dashboard on this. It's got those two sort of eyes looking at you. It looks like a cartoon character, and once you see that, you can't unsee it. But other than that, a nice bike, no doubt about it. But stay tuned for more on the Tracer 9 GT if you're interested, coming on the channel soon. All right, last story in this paper, Champagne Supernova. Now, this is another bike that I recently rode. Again, if you've not seen this video, this is the new Royal Enfield Meteor. Go and check this out. It's a 350 single. I'll put a link in the corner. Is it that corner? That corner, I think. Or maybe it's that, I don't know. Wherever, I'll put a link. Go and check out my review of this. It might have been this very bike that I rode. I don't know. So they said, individually, the results are, a concerted effort to raise quality and individuality, and the results are striking, whether it's in the bar grips, the tank badges, the filler cap, the seat construction and finish, new LED ring headlight and taillights and so on. Then there's the debut of Enfield's Tripper. That's the little sat-nav head unit that goes on here. I loved it. It says here, for the first time, its quality and credibility is truly nudging that of, say, Triumph. Enfield's Wells and Warburton also say this is just the start, of which suggests exciting implications. Completely agree with that. I mean, whether you like, again, the looks of this bike or not, for me, the looks don't quite do it as, say, the Royal Enfield Interceptor did, which just looks right out of the can. This one looks a bit Indian to me. Not that that's a bad thing, but I don't know, there's something about the rear seat I don't like, although you could remove that and that would help. But I have to say, from a riding point of view, and for what you get for your money, the quality of it, the ride quality, I said in my review it was the best single I've ever ridden in terms of smoothness. It's got a counter shaft in there. It's a really smooth bike to ride. If you just need cheap transport to get yourself to work, you could do a lot worse than a Royal Enfield Meteor. Or if you just want something that's fun for going around the lanes as a second bike, again, this is a bike well worth looking at. I think this is going to do pretty well, and it'll be amazing as a basis for a custom machine as well. Alrighty, there we go. That's it for the third paper. Still with me? Next up, just two more to go, and then we'll get on to parish notices. First story here, he says, trying to speed up even more. Stroker revolution. This is the Langen TwoStroke. Do you remember we talked about this, I don't know, 3 or 4 bike newses ago? So the eagerly anticipated two-stroke Langen has moved another step closer to hitting UK roads. The first machine has been approved for UK roads after passing the motorcycle single vehicle approval. It's powered by a 250cc V-twin. It's a two-stroke, which is the unusual thing, and it puts out a claimed 75 brake horsepower at 11,500 RPM. This thing is going to sound awesome. It looks amazing. Does look a bit CCM-ish a bit to me again, and I suspect that's because the guys, Mr. Langen, I think his name is, that actually designed this came from CCM, I think, if I remember rightly. So it's a similar sort of approach. The frame looks kind of familiar from CCM's. It's blinged up in the same sort of way, albeit maybe more. But of course, what it doesn't do this time, it's got its own engine, which is the big thing for this bike. So suddenly this becomes a really enticing proposition. What's not so enticing is it's priced from £34,000. So again, don't get too excited. You ain't going to be seeing too many of these on the road. Run is going to be limited as well to 100 bikes, so they're going to fly off the shelves to rich collectors. Maybe we won't see too many of them on the road. It's a shame if we don't get to see and hear these bikes, isn't it? What does it say else here? It says suspended with Öhlins forks, K-Tech twin shocks. Claim bike weighs just 114 kilograms. That is going to be an amazing bike to ride, isn't it? And give me a bike with gold wheels and I instantly love it. So I really love the look of the Langen TwoStroke, but I wonder if we'll ever actually get to see one ourselves. Alrighty, moving on. Sales looking good. So Retro's lead sales surge. This is a good news story given the sorts of years that we've had the last couple of years. New bike sales have continued to surge with commuters, including electrics, and Retros particularly proving popular. Standout sellers in the 51 to 125cc scooters were Yamaha's NMAX 125, which has usurped the Honda PCX 125, which has been leading the charts for literally years. I've got some videos coming on that soon. I love that. Must try out the Yamaha NMAX if I can. Also, the overall best-selling powered two-wheeler and among full-size bikes was Royal Enfield's Interceptor 650 and Triumph's new Trident 660. Both bikes that I love, and both worthy bestsellers. So great news there that we've got a bit of a sales surge. Let's hope that continues. One of the weird things about COVID, isn't it? The motorcycle sales have done well. Okay, here's a product that I wanted your view on. This thing, just to me, well, let's see what it is, and then I'll tell you what I think. So here we are. It's called the ChillRide, and it's a vest that aims to solve the comfort conundrum. It's for hot countries. It cools you down. Basically, it's always a challenge to find just the right combination of layers to retain the perfect temperature without compromising safety. We've all been there. You're either too hot or too cold. It's very rare, in this country anyway, that you're just the right temperature on your bike. French firm ChillRide has developed a temperature-controlled riding vest that aims to give the same sort of climate-controlled comfort that you might expect in a car. Well done, the French. The ChillRide system either heats or cools fluid to keep you comfortable, and it pumps it around a gilet, basically. It's got a breathable gilet with flexible hoses woven through it to carry the heating and cooling liquid. A duo of heat exchangers mounted on the bike's forks transfer the heat out of the fluid when the system is trying to keep you cool. So basically, it's got these... Aha, I'm back. So this time it wasn't the camera overheated that I fell foul of. It was actually, I filled the SD card up. So I stuck a new SD card in, also gave me a chance to cool the camera down a bit. So killed two birds with one stone. Now, where were we? Yes, back to this ChillRide vest thing. So yeah, so it's got these massive great air intakes down on the front here. I just can't see me ever wanting that on my bike, and let's face it, here in the UK it doesn't get that hot really that you're going to want to cool yourself down that much. If you want a heated jacket, get one that plugs into your bike. I think it's an absolutely rubbish idea. What do you think? I'll be interested to know, would you have that mounted on your bike? Maybe if you live in, I don't know, Dubai or somewhere, or you know, the hot bits of Australia, and you're desperate to do anything to cool you down, maybe this is the way to go. Maybe I'm just dismissing it foolhardily, but yeah, not for me. Can you imagine having hoses and, oh no, too much faff. So not for me. All right, so next up, final one in this paper, Seventh Heaven. So this is the Moto Guzzi V7. It's got more cubes and extra grunt as it swells to an 850. Now this is a bike that sort of passed me by. I don't know why. It looks beautiful, doesn't it, as a retro bike? I mean, it looks properly retro. I think the only issue with this is the V-twin engine, the way it sticks out, almost sort of boxer fashion, sort of transverse V-twin, or whatever the technical term is. It just doesn't do it for me on the looks front. I don't like engines that poke out of the side of bikes, which might sound odd being somebody that rides a BMW GS. I don't like the looks of the Boxer engine. I like the way it delivers its power, and this is probably the same. So yeah, maybe I need to get my act together and have a crack on one of these, because it looks beautiful, doesn't it? And certainly, I'm sure, would have a lot of character. Interested in your view on this one, and whether you think I should go and have a ride on one of these or not. Anyway, so there we go. That's the MV Augusta. The V7 had a bit of an update, now with 25% more wallop apparently as well. Alrighty, last paper then before we get on to parish notices. A few things I've picked out here. First one, little bikes go large. Now this is the Honda Monkey and the Cub. Both 125s have had lots of updates for 2021. In the past I've been a bit critical of the well, of these small sort of mini bikes, so things like the Grom and now the Cub. I don't kind of get them. People, you know, grown adults on them, it just looks a bit comical. But I have to say, it's sort of growing on me a bit. I'm sure it's a lot of fun to ride. I've only ever ridden one of these smaller bikes, which was the, actually it was a Benelli, I think. I can't remember what it was called, but the little 125 mini bike they did, and it was an absolute hoot to ride. Whether I'd want one in the garage is another question, but they are starting to look beautiful, I have to say. This little Monkey is looking good, and the Super Cub is a classic, of course, isn't it? Anyway, let's see what I've highlighted here. So Honda have updated their little big bikes, the Monkey and Super Cub 125, with revised engines. The Monkey is Honda's retro-styled version of the hugely popular MSX 125, which is the Grom. The new engine has narrower bore and longer stroke, higher compression ratio, new air box and intake, new exhaust, all keep it Euro 5 friendly. So again, that's really, I guess, why these updates are there. The biggest change for most riders, though, will be the change to a 5-speed gearbox. The top speed is a hair-whipping 56 miles an hour. And a claimed 186 miles per gallon. That's incredible, isn't it? So even though it's got only a 5.6 litre tank, you should get 223 miles out of it. So certainly cheap motor and cheap to buy, cheap to run. The Super Cub, meanwhile, gets the same engine as the new Monkey, a new generator, so more electricity for plugging in stuff, which is handy as a practical commuter bike. New fork springs, beefier shocks. Both bikes will be available from August, with the Monkey starting at 3,899 and the Super Cub starting at 3,499. Not ridden either. Perhaps I should have a little chat with Honda and see if I can have a go on these, see if they can change my mind about what these bikes are all about. I mean, I'm sure they put a smile on your face, and at the end of the day, That's what motorcycling as a leisure motorcyclist is for. The Cub, of course, could possibly make an ideal commuter, and it's sort of essentially an automatic now as well. So yeah, maybe I should have a little go on these and reserve my criticism for them until I've actually ridden the things. I'm always criticising others for not riding stuff, but they criticise, should do that. Right, what have we got here then? Time for tea at Suzuki. Oh, here we go. Suzuki are working on an updated version of the GSX S1000F, it turns out. Now, this was a bike that I rode a few months back. I'll put a link in the corner if I've got enough links left, which I really, really liked. It's a great value for money bike, and I think it looks good, and it rides beautifully smoothly. A really nice bike. Anyway, some stuff has come forward that shows they're revamping it. So, documents have emerged detailing a GSX S1000T. Assuming the T stands for touring, this presumably is to make it a competitor to the S1000SX from Kawasaki. The type approval documents suggest that the new bike shares the same Euro 5 compliant 150 brake horsepower inline 4. The maximum height coming in at 135mm higher, which is not necessarily a good thing. Overall length of the bike is greater too, so that suggests there might be luggage, maybe. The docs list a wet weight of 12 kilograms more than the previous naked machine, while the previous F was only 4k heavier than the naked. Suggests there will be more kit and an increased touring focus. So no pictures, unfortunately, yet. Just a nudge that there's maybe a touring version of the GXSS 1000 coming out. So we'll keep our eyes skinned for that one. Definitely would like a ride of that. This is interesting. Electric bikes, they sort of split opinions, don't they? A lot of people don't like them. I've enjoyed riding some electric bikes. They're not for me yet in terms of range, cost, etc. But the new one that Triumph and partners are working on sounds promising. Here's a new approach by BMW, and I think this is brilliant. This is keeping this sort of tradition going, is what I've written here on my sticky, because what they've got here is a shaft drive version that looks like a Boxer engine, so it's unmistakably a BMW, but it's not just done, it turns out, for cosmetic reasons. It's done for good reasons. So let me read what we've got here. So latest patents illustrates one of the key differences between BMW's electric motorcycle plans and those of their main rivals. This has the use of a longitudinal motor allied to a shaft drive. The German company's tradition of shaft drive engines with crankshaft running lengthways continues and is exemplified by the classic Boxer Twin, of course. BMW's design with a motor turned 90 degrees allows a longer motor without increasing bike width. A shaft with constant velocity joints at each end connects the motor to the front of the final drive shaft that integrates into the swing arm and gives designers freedom to move the motor around, in turn giving additional freedom for altering the weight distribution of the package. So it makes the engine actually more flexible, maybe to use in different types of bikes. Very, very interesting. And the fact that the shaft drive as well is part of the swing arm means that there's not going to be probably a huge weight penalty. Plus, added bonus, it keeps the BMW family look alive. So yeah, very interesting, that, very clever. We'll see what it looks like in the flesh. So yeah, it's sort of a Boxer BMW electric motor. Who'd have thought it, eh? Right, next up, we mentioned Benelli before, way back, seemed hours ago now in the review. So this is their new 550. It's got more of a hint of the Honda CBR 650R to it, to me. One of the things that Benelli do, it seems to me, is look at bikes that are successful in a particular sector they're going for and basically make a bit of a copy. So the Leoncino looks very much like a Ducati Scrambler to me. They've got that cruiser bike that looks just like a Diavel and so on. The other bike we talked about just now that looks like the RT. Well, this looks like the Honda. Anyway, I don't know how they get away with it, but it looks good. Let's read the highlights I've got here. So Benelli has come up with a Leoncino 500 derived sports bike model, so it's the same engine as the Leoncino. It's been developed by Chinese newcomer QJ Motor, a firm that's intrinsically tied to Benelli. Both brands are under the wing of Zhejiang Quanyang, part of the vast Geely Group. So before we dismiss all these Chinese sounding names, the Geely Group also owns Volvo and Lotus. So that again gives you just a bit of a sense, doesn't it, of the gravity of these companies. Just because they're Chinese doesn't mean so they don't know what they're doing. You wouldn't say Volvos are rubbish. You wouldn't say Lotus don't know how to make cars. Well, Benelli is in exactly the same situation as those guys, it seems. Well, the manufacturing is in China, I'll give you that. Lotus don't manufacture them in China, I don't think, and nor do Volvo. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So they've got one picture so far of the as yet unreleased new Sports Twin. It's emerged and it's clear the bike is close to production readiness. It looks like it's pretty finished, doesn't it? The engine is bumped up to 549cc for a little more power and improved Euro 5 compliance with the emissions and performance, which is great. As well as this fared model, QJ Motor have also approved their own retro naked version, similar to the Leoncino 500. Says here, given Benelli's relatively low profile in the UK, it's easy to underestimate the brand's potential. This is kind of what I'm saying. In Italy, the company currently sits top of the sales charts with the TRK 502 as the nation's best seller. I think that's the sort of adventure looking bike, which has got a bit of multi-strada about it, if I remember right. It outstrips the second place bike, BMW's R1250 GS, by 3,200 sales to 2,300 sales so far in 2021. So Benelli are outselling the BMW in Italy. That says something, doesn't it? That's amazing. All right, last story before we get on to parish notices. Bargain Bonanza in the market for a big value A2 legal bike. Look no further, it says here. They're comparing, again, Benelli Imperiale 400 with the Honda CMX 500 Rebel and the Meteor 350. I've only ridden the Meteor. Big fan of that, as I said before. Great quality, great ride. The CMX 500 Rebel I rode a while back. Great Honda quality, didn't like the styling of the bike, did nothing for me, didn't like it at all really. So there we go, that's the Honda Rebel. Was it the Honda Rebel, or am I confusing it with a Yamaha? I might be doing it a massive disservice there. Actually, I haven't ridden it, I'll take that all back. Maybe it's a brilliant bike, but I don't like the looks of it very much. And then the Benelli Imperiale, which looks fantastic. And I had a look at one at the ABR festival at the weekend, and it looked great, but I've never ridden one. What's the verdicts? So, sometimes power isn't everything, says John Urry. I completely agree with that. Royal Enfield have proved that power isn't the be-all and end-all. Enfield have created a bike that is fun, entertaining, and far from intimidating to ride, and all for under 4K. Completely concur with you there, John. The Benelli is a perfect example of a bike that has been ruined by being built to a budget. Its chassis and suspension feel left in the 1960s, and the wobbly nature of the ride means you are left far from confident in the bends. All right, maybe I don't want to ride one of those then. I have a soft spot for the Rebel, says John, but sadly that spot isn't my bum, which after a day in the saddle feels completely destroyed by the riding position and harsh suspension. So there we go. So once again, the Royal Enfield comes out top spot. I've given it 4 stars against the 3 of the Benelli and 3 for the Honda Rebel as well. So smashed it, the Royal Enfield guys there. So there we go. I'm glad they agree with my findings on that one. All right, that's it for the bike review. Hope that was of interest. Don't forget, I only just scratched the surface of MCN. I'm only telling you mainly things about new bikes that are emerging and stuff that interests me. There's loads in MCN, loads more than I cover. Often people comment back to me, why didn't you cover X, Y, Z story? Well, it's because I'm covering 5 papers, you know, in less than, well, about 35 minutes or whatever I've been yapping for, possibly more than that this time. Anyway, so get yourself a subscription to MCN if you want to know more. It's a great read. All right, parish notices then, some stuff that I want to mention. So thanks as ever to my sponsors of the channel. Monimoto, I don't mention them enough. They make little security devices, basically trackers that you secrete about your bike. They don't run out your battery like full fat trackers do, and the subscription is only something like 30 quid a year. I'm a massive fan of them. I have them fitted on several of my bikes. Check out the links below if you need a tracker for your bike, the Monimoto. Light Lock, we've already mentioned, of course, with the locks, links again below to them. Canary Motorcycle Tours, my great friends Joy and Martin over in Gran Canaria. They've just moved house, so congratulations to you guys. Hopefully, fingers crossed, soon we'll get some sort of travel corridor going with those guys, with Canary Islands, and maybe then we can all pile down to Canary Motorcycle Tours and once again have a bit of a party. So best of luck to those guys. Image 4 security, of course, the Guardsman, we talked about the barrier. I will do a little show you mine again soon, just to let you know how it's going after a year of use. There's no major issues with it. It's still a great gadget, but people keep asking me weirdly for a tour of my garage. Don't know why, but maybe I might make a little bonus video on that, and I'll give you a bit more of a review of the Guardsman in that. Speedo Angels, must mention them again. These are probably my longest sponsors. They've been with me for absolutely ages, so thank you, Speedo Angels. I wanted to mention them in particular because they've launched a load of new products for 2021. Let me just give you a quick rundown. They sent me a mail. So they've got new screen protectors for things like the Aprilia RSV4, the 2021 model, the Aprilia Tuono, the Multistrada V4 2021, Honda X80V, Forza, CB1000R, Husqvarnas, KTMs, MV Augustas, all sorts of new models they brought out. So if you've got a new bike, particularly if it's got a new expensive TFT screen, get yourself over to the Speedo Angels website, again links below, and check out their screen protectors. Those TFTs in particular, if you get them wet or you wipe them in a haphazard way, it's very easy for them to get stained or scratched. Get yourself a Speedo Angel protector. They only cost you, the prices vary, but less than 20 quid in the majority of cases, and it will protect your shiny new investment, so recommend them to you. Must say hello to everybody. I mentioned I was at the ABR Festival at the weekend. In fact, I was there from Thursday through to Sunday. What a fantastic event. It was really amazing. It was such a chilled out vibe, and so good to see so many people, happy, smiling faces there. Everybody had COVID tests. I'm not sure how many people were there, but there were a lot of people there. We had great fun, indulging in our joint passion for motorcycles. I did a little talk on Friday lunchtime-ish. I had the graveyard slot, but it seemed to go all right. I don't know, maybe you were there. Let me know if you saw it and what you thought. I really enjoyed doing that, and it was just a great event to be part of. So great to thank you to everybody that came and said hello to me and Mrs. Flyer. If you've not been, or you think of going next year, I'm hoping I might be able to do you a bit of a deal for tickets next year. I'll let you know more on that as soon as tickets are available, and again, hopefully we'll see you there next year. So the ABR Festival, mark that in your diary for next year, and don't buy a ticket yet until I've got you some money off. All right, that was great fun. And there'll be some videos, or a video, maybe two, don't know, depends how the edit goes, of the festival coming up soon as well. So you'll get a bit more of an idea of what goes on. It was a really, really good do. One of the best biking events I've ever been to, I think. I'm absolutely whacked now, though. I still need to recover after the drinking and partying that was done. Okay, coming up on the channel in the next month, we've got more on the Yamaha Tracer 9 GT. I put my first ride review up, I think it was, erroneously, I put it up on Sunday instead of Monday. Oops. Bit drunk at the ABR Festival. Sorry about that. That's why there wasn't a video on Monday. Went up on Sunday by mistake, but it was the same video, so it was all fine. That one went well. There's more of that coming. My lessons learned video specifically is coming up, so stick around and stay tuned if you're interested in the Tracer 9 GT. I've got a review of the Suzuki GSXS 125 coming up. Now, I occasionally do 125 reviews because I think they're great fun. The reason why I've done this one is because this particular bike is Mrs. Flyer's bike. You may or may not recall that she did her CBT back in December. We got the little 125. Thank you very much indeed to Suzuki for the long-term loan. She's learning to ride on that. There'll be more on the channel about that. She's not done a lot of riding yet for various reasons, but she will be doing some more soon, I'm sure, and I'll be bringing some more videos on that. But I've got a review of the GSXS 125 coming up soon. Stick around for that. July the 12th is the first episode of a three-part series. I've done a little tour video. I went down to South Wales. I'm always raving about how good Wales is to ride, but what's it like down on the Pembrokeshire coast? I've never even been there before. So I did what's called the Tenby Loop, one of the routes from Simon Weir's book, Bikers Britain. So that series is coming up. It's a three-part. I hope you enjoy that. It's just been great to be out on the GS in the sunshine again. I've got an in-depth review coming up, a one-off video of the Triumph Tiger 850. Do you remember how I raved about the new Triumph Tiger 900s? I thought they were excellent bikes. In fact, I made it my bike of the year last year, I think, certainly one of them. I really loved the 900. Well, the 850 is the, in quotes, budget version, and as I say, I've got my in-depth review of that coming up. I don't want to give you any more information because, you know, spoiler alert and all that, but what I would say is it's really good. So watch that video if you're interested in the Triumph Tiger 850. It's called an 850, it's actually a 900, it just differentiates it from the other models. And then I've got something really special coming up, I hope in the next month, from the Goodwood Festival of Speed, which is next week. If you're going along to the Festival of Speed, might see you there. I'm going to be doing some incredible stuff there. I can't quite believe it's happening. All I can say is it's out of this world. Little clue there. If you're one of my patrons, you'll know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I must say thank you to my patrons and members of the channel, of course, as ever. If you want to join up, please do so. All sorts of stuff going on there. Brilliant. All right, that's it for now. That's it for this bike news. I hope you enjoyed that. Sorry I went on a bit long, but there was an awful lot to cover. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Don't forget, stick your comments down below. Always interested to read them. I'll respond to as many as I possibly can. If I don't respond, doesn't mean I haven't read it. I promise 100% I'll read all the comments on there. All right, that's it for this time. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Till then, this has been the Mr. Flyer. Cheerio.